Okay, so welcome to this Samsung Partner Update. My name is Jared Kennedy. I lead business development for Android Enterprise for the Asia Pacific region. So what we'll go through today is some introductions. So if you haven't met all of our team in Asia Pacific, it's not a big team, but I'll make sure you know who everyone is and which regions they cover. We're going to take you through the partner program. Some of you may have heard about this and may have joined previous calls. This is going to be more of a shorter version of that, specifically about why Samsung partners should join our partner program. It is a partner program run by Google, in addition to what Samsung already offer you as a channel partner. We have a customer webinar coming up as well. So with the customer webinar, what we'd like as a call to action out of this call is for you, if you are comfortable, is to share that webinar details with your customers, because we are starting to see lots of questions coming in from customers, particularly around Samsung devices appearing in our solution directory for Android Enterprise recommended, how to get zero touch happening on a Android device that come from Samsung, or what's the difference between zero touch and Knox mobile enrollment? Can you use both? What are the differences? And things like, what is Knox platform for enterprise, and how do I use Knox and Android Enterprise? So we'll cover that in more detail. I'll touch on some of those things today, but today is not really a technical deep dive on that, but we'll cover a couple of the key topics, which will help you understand why it's important to get your customers onto that session. And then we'll go through the major announcements. So I will touch on those, as I mentioned, just so you can get a bit of an idea of what has been happening and what are the big changes we announced over the last few months. And then we'll have Q&A. So interested to know, how we can help you. Interested to know whether you think this partner program is a good idea. If you've got some ideas on how you might like to work with us, then feel free to use this forum. We are running a weekly session every Friday afternoon as well, focused on partners, on how to onboard, and answering any questions you've got in terms of the onboarding journey into the partner program. So I'll share a link for that later, but please do join in on a Friday afternoon if you've got any questions about why you should join after this, or if you're getting stuck anywhere during the onboarding. So to introduce the team, I'm based in Sydney, looking after the APAC region. My colleague Ben is based in Japan, looking more after North Asia, so who's looking after Japan, Hong Kong, South Korea, and Taiwan. With Ben in Tokyo, he also has a technical solutions specialist, Takeo-san, and a partner trainer, Tomoko-san. They're based in Tokyo, looking after North Asia, and with us in our region, many of you probably familiar with Andre. If you're in the Southeast Asia region, Andre was a long time at Samsung for 7 years before he joined Google earlier this year. He's leading Singapore, Southeast Asia, and India from a training perspective. And Nikki, who joined us from a Telstra partner called Star21 at the start of this year, is looking after Australia and New Zealand. So if in one of these countries, this is who you should go to for help. So why do we launch the partner program? So one of the things is it's really to help you, and it's to help Samsung. It's to help us be successful with Android. It's to help us sell more devices and to help our customers achieve success. So there's a lot of things in the program. It's been difficult in the past to scale to all the countries that we want to have Android successful in. From an enterprise point of view, we are a small team, so this partner program has been launched really to help you help yourself, to give you a lot of access to resources that you may not have known about before, and give you a scaled way to get in touch with Google if you do need assistance. So you can read more about the program on this link. So you're probably familiar with Android.com website. There's an enterprise page on Android.com, and there's also a partner-specific page. And from there, you'll find the links on how to apply for the community, apply for the program, as well as join. So what's in the partner program? So I touched on resources. Sometimes you may have known the resources, like the Android Academy. Some of them you may not have known, like the Partner Marketing Hub, but they certainly weren't all published on our website before. So now the partner program becomes your single point of access for all of these resources. No longer you have to remember the different URLs for those different resources. They're all centralized into the partner program. And it's going to be something that we maintain going forward and produce a lot of additional materials on a daily basis. You can join the communities as well. So there are different communities based on your partner type, and in there you can connect with your peers and ask questions in the forums. And you'll see lots of news articles and things that are specific to your type of partner program. You can also get recognition. So from a recognition point of view, you'll end up in our solution directory as long as you meet our requirements. So I'll talk about what some of those requirements are. I'm only going to focus on the community programs that are relevant for Samsung partners, which is really around the device reseller or the service provider. So in this portal, and there's a link there to this portal. So once you're signed in, this is the new URL that you should be bookmarking. That should be something you live and breathe every day, we hope. In there, once you log in, for a start, if you're the first person to sign up and you're the primary contact, then you would go to the onboarding guides and read those and work out how do you go through and join, what are the requirements for you, what is involved in becoming a device reseller, for example, what do I need to do, what do I need my team to do, and there are guides you can download, and each of the communities that you need to apply for has got a link to a Learn More, which tells you about what the partner program requirements are, and then there's also an onboarding guide, which you can use as a primary contact, but you can also share with your colleagues. Once you're in that portal, just on the landing page, before you even get into the communities, there is news articles and service bulletins. So we do publish a lot of our news there. Anything that's not specifically under an NDA will end up there, and anything that's not specific and technical, targeted at a particular community, will be ending up in the partner portal on the landing page. You can subscribe to our monthly newsletter, which we'd encourage you to do, because that'll give you invites to all sorts of events that are coming up and give you all the latest news and roadmaps. And if we've recorded something that happened in another time zone, then we will often include the recording links in those newsletters so you can watch it. If something was happening at 2 a.m. in the US, then you can certainly get access to it by hearing about it in the newsletter and downloading and accessing that recording. There's also the Partner Marketing Hub, which I'll touch on a bit later, but that's got a lot of resources. Marketing teams put a huge amount of effort into the last 12 months to get that Partner Marketing Hub really focused on helping you go to market. So all of our brand resources are in there, all of our content you might want to use on your website around Android Enterprise, all the product-specific things like what is Android Enterprise recommended and how should you promote it, what is Zero Touch and how can I promote it to my customers. All of those resources are in there. The Academy is there, and we would encourage you to access the Academy after you've joined the partner program and registered using the same account. And I'll talk a little bit about that later, but you can run into some problems that some of our partners have where they're accessing Academy from a different account and it's not synchronizing, because part of the requirements for joining this program are that you have your employees trained. And if they're signing into Academy with a different email address than what is registered with the partner portal, then clearly we can't do a link. So moving forward, what are some of the communities? So the two I'm going to focus on today are device reseller and service provider. We run a weekly session each Friday, as I mentioned, where we'll cover the others, but today the focus is on Samsung partners who sell devices or Samsung partners who provide services or may do both. So inside of those communities, first up is, because there's requirements for each of those communities to join, you need to do training, you need to submit a go-to-market plan, etc. You'll get a dashboard once you join that community. The primary contact will see what steps do I need to take and how far am I progressed in each of those steps. So it's really clear on the landing page to see that you are 25% or 50% or 75% through your validation. Once you complete validation, then you'll end up in our solution directory. You'll get access to a forum in each of these communities where you can ask questions. You can use that to discuss best practices with your peers, and bearing in mind this is a global program, so it's great that if other partners have had the same question come up before, then you may find the answer already, or you might find that someone responds to you that's in another part of the world. So this is a great thing about being involved in this program. We have a team of people that all they do is produce articles and integration guides to go into these communities. So this is a much better way for you to keep up to speed with what's happening. You may know Nikki or Andre or I personally, but we're not always available to answer your questions. And we would probably prefer that you go here first because that's the most scalable way. So you can use this community to find these articles, get the latest information. There's nothing better than knowing something before your customer does, because no one likes that scenario when a customer has seen something online and comes to you and you don't know the answer. You can also get technical support, which is a huge thing. That's been very difficult in the past to come to Google for Android Enterprise to get access to technical support, but each of these communities does have access to technical support. The service providers, your technical support will be granted to your staff that have qualified as experts, and I'll talk about experts later on in this call. So I mentioned the solution directory. We mentioned all of our partner types in here. This was previously limited to only AER partners, Android Enterprise recommended. The great thing is now that we've launched the Android Enterprise Partner Program, all partner types can join, and the requirements for joining are not as high as they were for AER partners. As long as you meet your requirements for each of these community types or partner types, then you'll get a badge which you can use to promote yourself on your own website. You can get access to a bio page where you can promote yourself on our solution directory, and hopefully that generates some leads for you. And then we will give you direct access to our team. If you're not in the partner program, then we really can't help you other than what you can find on google.com when you're searching. If you want access to our team, if you want training, if you want pre-sales guidance because you're responding to a large tender, you need technical support, you need to know what's the latest device that supports zero touch, you're going to have to be in here. So that's really why we're promoting this program. So what are the requirements? If you're a device reseller, the first thing is reseller. It means you must sell devices. This is not aimed at service providers who don't sell the device. If the customer that you're dealing with buys their device from their local carrier or their IT shop, and then you are just providing services like helping them enroll their devices, then you are not the reseller, so this program is not for you. You would need to encourage their reseller to join this program though, and you can work hand in hand with them as a service provider, but device resellers must sell the actual device. So some of the requirements are, first is training. So from a sales readiness point of view, we will send you a questionnaire when you apply, and that questionnaire asks you to nominate how many mobility sales and technical staff do you have. So if you have 10, for example, then we require that 40%, therefore 4 of those employees must have completed their training. So the important thing there is when you apply to this community, you need to get your employees to join as well. There is a feature where you can do a CSV upload of all of your employees, so that makes it easier. But make sure they're in there, because if they're doing training and they're not in the portal and then have not joined the community, and they've done the training using a different account, as I mentioned earlier, it's not going to count towards your validation. So it's really important that you as a primary contact do get involved in this, and you do send the invite out to your employees to join, and that they do their training through the link that's inside the partner portal. You also need to launch Zero Touch. Which means you need to learn how to do it. So there's a training module on Zero Touch. You will then get access to the community where there's a bunch of resources teach you like how to actually operate the Zero Touch console. You've got 2 different development options. You can do it with CSV upload of IME numbers, or if you've got some developers that are looking for a new job to do, then you could certainly ask them to do some API development and configure it so that all of those IMEs flow up automatically from your CRM into the portal, and saves you that manual process on every customer sale. You also need to show us your customer impact. So there's little point having a badge and being in a directory if you're not going to have a go-to-market plan. So I would suggest you look at the Partner Marketing Hub and have a look at the different resources in there and put together a plan that tells us how you intend to market your services now that you're an Android Enterprise device reseller. If you get stuck in the process, as much as Nikki and Andre and I would love to help you, there's a team that's actually better geared to help you with the specific issues around onboarding. If you're not sure what to do, if you're confused, if you're having a problem, if your academy stuff is not syncing through, or one of your users is having a problem registering, ae-community@google.com. They're based in London, so give them a few days to get back to you, but they're better equipped because they've got back-end access to Salesforce to resolve these issues for you. Service provider. So this is for people that don't sell devices, or maybe they do, but they also provide mobility consulting services. So if you are staging devices, you're deploying them, you're providing managed services and help desk services for your customers on Android Enterprise, then there's a few extra things you need to do here. First is you need 60% of your sales and technical team trained. It's just associate and professional in the Android Academy. You must also do the you must have 3 experts. So I'm going to talk about experts in a moment, but it's our highest certification for technical focused engineers. Those engineers need to do some extra courses, and I'll take you through what the requirements are for experts in a few slides time, but you need 3 of those for your organization. And here's a trickier one. You need 3 customers that have done 500 seats or more. They must be using Android, of course, not our competitor. They must be using Android Enterprise, not the legacy method. And some customers who were using Knox in the past, as you know, were not using Android Enterprise. They were using Knox Manage or Knox Configure, for example, and those devices were not enrolling into Android Enterprise. So they don't count. They must be using Android Enterprise, and they must be deployed. We have a dashboard that allows us to see that customer's enterprise ID is registered. You need to give us the customer details. We will then email the customer to confirm that you did the deployment. And we'll also, if we think that we can't see it in the dashboard, we'll look it up and we may ask you to supply the enterprise ID. So it may be a little bit difficult for some customers, so some partners who've got smaller customers. It does need to be 3 by 500 or greater. It can't be 1 with 2,500 or 2 with 1,000 and 1 with 250. It needs to be 3 lots of 500 minimum. So my suggestion would be, if you don't have that just yet, apply anyway, get the other requirements completed, and then work towards going after those bigger deployments and get back to us when you have, and then we can finalize your validation. Again, if you get stuck, aecommunity@google.com will help you out. So I mentioned training a lot here. So here are the courses, and just an update. We're planning on updating Associate early in the new year, which will actually roll Zero Touch into Associate. But at the moment, Associate is a separate course, as is Professional and Zero Touch. Associate and Professional are your minimum requirements for experts. So before you can achieve experts, you need to have done those first, and then that will then unlock the Architecture and Implementation course and the Support Engineer course. They're very technical courses. I would not suggest you attempt them unless you have access to an EMM environment and you have access to a handful of Samsung devices from your friendly Samsung representative, because you're going to need those devices to be able to do things like take bug reports, enroll them into Zero Touch, push out EMM configurations. So fair bit of training there if you're technical. If you're a salesperson, you probably can knock this over in a few hours. So the expert certification exam. Here's an example of one of the Samsung guys in head office that's already done it. The great thing is you get this nice little title you can add. He's even gone as far as adding that to his LinkedIn, which is great. And I've seen lots of people over the last few days since we added the experts exam into Academy. It's been going viral on LinkedIn with all these people uploading their certificates. So it's a pretty highly recognized certificate. It's quite good that people are getting it. It's a very difficult thing to pass. We are seeing a reasonably high failure rate. So it goes to show that it's not an easy exam to pass. But what we'd recommend, if you do want to pass it first time, because if you don't pass it the first time, you've got to wait 30 days before you can take it again. We would make sure that, first up, you are sufficiently qualified, that you've got enough experience. You have proficiency with at least one EMM, preferably more than one. If you've forgotten the credentials and you haven't used, VMware Test Drive or the Mobiline Partner University or the Saudi enrollments, you haven't touched those for some time, I would be reaching out to your favorite EMM vendor or your Knox Manage and getting access to that, because you're definitely going to need EMM access to refresh your skills and remind yourself of all the latest features. Particularly with Android 11, we changed a lot of things when it came to privacy and user experience, which you've probably seen some of our previous events. So you're going to need to practice that sort of stuff. Again, 4 courses you need to do. We are running a session every Friday. So I mentioned that we're running a partner session on onboarding. After that first 30 minutes about partner onboarding, we are running a session on what we call Ask the Expert webinar. You can see a link there where you can visit on our global training calendar site, which will take you to the expert session. It runs just like this. It's a Meet ID. You can join up that either at 2 o'clock to watch the onboarding or at 2:30 just to cover the experts. There are 2 labs in particular we suggest you do. I mentioned that you want to be hands-on. We've actually put together a whole bunch of exercises, which are practical hands-on labs for both those 2 courses. Andre did an amazing job writing out detailed step-by-step instructions for support engineers. So I definitely would recommend that you take those, because we're finding the people that actually do the right preparation and do those labs and have got a handful of devices sitting in them and have been playing with them, they tend to pass the exams the first go, and the people who don't are getting sometimes quite low scores. So don't underestimate how difficult it is. It's not saying it's impossible, but if you do the right preparation, then you'll pass with flying colors. Why do it? Why go through all this effort? Well, first up, you get this really cute badge you can put on your LinkedIn and share with everyone. Show your mum. I'm sure she'll be impressed, as well as should be your employer, because it's going to help them get their service provider certification. It can also give you access to a pretty amazing community where other experts are, and we have a closed forum which only experts can get access to. So you get to interact with the famous Jason Baton, who loves nothing better than answering questions at 2 a.m. from experts all around the world, along with Google engineers. You also have the ability, and this is unique, have the ability, as I mentioned earlier, service providers, if you have not qualified yet as a service provider, then you don't have support. The only way you're going to get support if you are a service provider is to have your team become an expert, because then they have a form where they're allowed to escalate support tickets directly to us. So that means you don't need to call me 24/7, which I'm finding some partners do in all parts of the world and the region. You don't need to contact Andre and Nikki. There is a formal process for you to go through to escalate. Now, I talk about escalate. It's not a help desk. Escalate means you need to have logged it first with your preferred EMM that you're using with that customer. Potentially, you may need to log it with Samsung if it's an OEM issue, or you may perhaps be logging it to both if you're not sure. If you have then logged it with them and you're having issues, then you can quote the support ticket you've got and let us know, and we'll provide you with support. So that's pretty cool, and I've seen some very big issues with customers. I've had a lot of attention with the customer. The partners are under a lot of pressure. They came to this forum. They were able to ask the right questions, and we really resolved that issue very quickly for the customer. So, recapping on what you need to do to join. First up is join the program. So go to that page that Nikki posted in the chat earlier to sign up. Work towards fulfilling your validation requirements. That may not happen overnight, particularly if you need to get some experts qualified or you need to meet your 3x500 seat deployments. It might take you a few months to get there, but please join and get started. And then once you've got your validations required, requirements met, then you will end up in our solution directory. So a few FAQs I'm going to cover. There is a few email addresses that we send things out that are important. There's an AE community at google.com. There's also an AE community no reply at google.com. Make sure they're not going to junk and spam. The same with our contracts. The NDA that we send you in the partner program agreement come from Mocha-contract. That's a mobile online contract program. So that is where that email comes from. It's like a click to accept DocuSign. All the emails are going to your primary contact. So I would suggest you probably have more than one primary contact. And if your primary contact does leave, then make sure you nominate someone else to replace them. I mentioned earlier that you'll only get recognition if your employees have joined each of the communities. So if you have you're the only primary contact and you've signed up to device reseller and you're the only one who's done the training, then you're going to be at 5% probably of your validation requirements, because you need your other 10 employees to join as well and do their training. If you're a large organization, particularly our favorite carriers like Telkomsel or Telstra or AIS in Thailand, you can delegate. So why don't you nominate a few different primary contacts around the business and ask them to upload their team. In fact, upload via CSV. It makes it really easy. With Academy, just be careful of going to Academy from within the Android Enterprise Partner Portal. Some people have got multiple Google accounts and they may have done their training in the Academy with a different account. That's going to cause all hell to break loose when it comes to you getting recognized as a partner. So please make sure that they forget about the other accounts they've been using. Don't go to the Academy directly. Use it via the portal. Make sure they're signed in to that central account they're using to get into the portal, which should be linked to their corporate email address. And then if they need to, you can import your training from earlier accounts. So you're not going to lose the training you've done under other accounts. You can import them and verify them, and that will then come through. But please make sure it does go to the account you're using to sign into the Android Enterprise Partner Portal. The Academy is not a partner portal. There are different URLs, and the URLs are in this link here. So if you've been using googlepartnertraining.com, please delete it out of your bookmarks. We don't want you going directly to there, because that will cause issues with syncing. It's probably something that's taking about 80% of Nikki's time at the moment is unpicking that. So please do follow our instructions. If you're an existing Zero Touch reseller, some people have joined last year or the year before because I've had Zero Touch for a while. we would recommend you do apply for this program because it's going to give you access to more training. It's going to give you access to more news. It's going to give you access to all the go-to-market resources, so you'll be more successful. You only need to apply to the community once, so your primary contact should apply. We've seen, for some reason, some people, every single employee is applying. It's only your primary contact needs to apply, so the duplicates will get deleted and rejected. And we'd also suggest you have multiple primary contacts. It is possible to sell devices and be a service provider, so please do apply to both. And there's a few partners I can see in this call that fall into that category. So what are the benefits? So why would Samsung want you to join this? Well, first is we probably know that when you talk to a customer, they're quite confused about the different Knox products and how that might relate to Android Enterprise. So that's really going to help Samsung get a clear message out there that Knox is not competitive to Android Enterprise. It's something that works with and on top of Android Enterprise. So what we want you to position is Android Enterprise is the base of what you need to do. You start there, and then you can add in the various different Knox solutions, which I'm going to cover off in the next few slides, on top of Android Enterprise. It's not an either or. It's not competitive. The benefit then is once they've started with Android Enterprise, you can upsell and sell a license for the Knox platform for Enterprise, which works in addition to what you get with a work profile or with Zero Touch out of the box. And improves your knowledge of the competitive advantages. So when you're in a tender situation and you've got other Android manufacturers in there, or another platform that is not Android and you're competing against that, it might be Windows, it might be Apple. The more you know about the Samsung device, both Google's benefits and Samsung's benefits together means that you are going to be much better at positioning why the Samsung device with Android Enterprise is the best solution for the customer. If you don't know all these things, then it's very easy for the other partner to win because they're going to find holes that should have been filled up by you. There is certainly a lot of competitive advantages that are there that no other platform has today, which is one reason why Android is the leading platform in the world. It also reduces that iOS threat because we've had situations, we had one recently in our region where the partners were not aware of the latest changes to Android 11. They were trying to get some mobile threat defense working on the personal side, and they didn't realize that the EMM could no longer push out an application to the personal side of the device. They didn't know about the new privacy-enhanced version of Android 11. So the customer threatened to go to Apple. So that's not great for us, not great for you, not great for Samsung. So these are some of the reasons why it's in Samsung's benefit for you to join. For you, I mentioned before, we're a small team, and we love taking your phone calls, but we're not available all the time. Some of us take holidays. Some of us have weekends. Sometimes 5 o'clock in Australia is not 5 o'clock in Malaysia. So scaled access to resources. You've got huge amounts of materials there. We're only seeing a fraction of our partners have joined the program yet. There's so much stuff there. You'd be very surprised at how many resources you can access through inside that portal. You can get advanced training. I mentioned before, if you join the program, you can get access to Andre and Nikki directly. If you don't, then really the only training you're going to get is online or via a Google search. So please join the program because it means you can request where available that we can run a special session just for your team. There's all the technical support there. So if you're supporting customers, then you really do need that back-to-back support. So this is great that you can reach out to us if there's something that does go wrong via the communities, if you've qualified. You also get all the latest information. So you don't want to have a situation where a customer comes to you, I mentioned it before, and they know something and you don't, because it's not great for your reputation, not great for Android reputation. You want to make sure that you're up to speed with the latest. It's very hard for us to one-on-one give you that information, but if you're in this community, then you're interacting with all the news we're posting, all the news articles. That's a great way for you to get access to information. And there's a couple of specific things, like particularly now that we've launched Zero Touch, when would you use Knox Mobile Enrollment and when would you use Zero Touch? Does Zero Touch work with Knox Configure? Does it work with Knox Manage? Does it work with Knox ePhoto? These are all questions you're going to get by visiting the community. And bottom line is you're out there pitching a solution. You want to have the best of the best. The best of Samsung, the best of Google. This is going to give you all the competitive advantages. So, I'm going to move now into the customer webinar. So they're all the reasons why you should join our program. We hope you do. You don't have to, but if you don't join, then you're not going to get access to all those great resources. We would like you to help us promote a customer webinar. So same time as today on a different meeting ID, but available on this link, which we've sent out to you. That is the landing page where customers can register. So it would really help us if you can let your customers know, because a lot of the questions that obviously they're going to be coming to you for or coming to us for, we'd much prefer that they get access to it via this webinar. So here's the landing page for that. You may have seen that when you register for this event. There's 2 tabs in there. There's one for partner webinar, which is today, and there's another tab for this what we're calling the Samsung AER update. So they're on the second tab. There's an overview there talking about all the different things we're going to cover, and there's an agenda in there. I'll let you read that. We won't go through that now. Nikki's just posted the link into the chat, so start getting your emails ready to get that out to all of your customers. That'd be great. We've already got probably quite a few registered, certainly probably 20 or 30 or so. It'd be great to get 100 or more registered for that, because it's something that's we're going to cover a lot of information that everyone's been asking about. So we will record it as well, and we'll put the link back up onto our training calendar website, which is a link that Nikki posted earlier, but you can go there and you better get a copy of the recording as well if any of the customers were busy trying to close the year off and weren't able to join. So what are we going to cover? We'll cover specifically the AER blog post. So I'm going to go through it in a moment in terms of the announcement we made about Samsung joining the Android Enterprise Recommended Program. We'll cover also our announcement about Zero Touch and about how all Android 9 devices can run with Zero Touch. We're going to talk about the Knox Harmonization to say, like, having Knox and Samsung devices as well as Android Enterprise means you can do all of that together. It's not either or like it was before. And then really, this is important for you for follow-ups, is we'll have a call to action, which is, do they want more information? Would they like a workshop with their partner and Samsung? Would they like to kick off a pilot project? So we'll share those leads back with you and get those customers to come along. So I'm going to cover off quickly here some of the major announcements, and when we get to the end of this section, we can take some Q&A. I'm not sure we've seen any Q&A questions come up yet, but we'll get to those in a moment if there is. So I mentioned before, it's been long awaited, it's been long rumored, but we finally announced a few weeks ago that Samsung joined the Android Enterprise Recommended Program. That was one of the common things we were hearing was, why is Knox not AER? Why is Samsung not AER? So that's now been resolved. There's an announcement there from Samsung and from Google as to the Samsung joining. There are a number of select devices today which are going through the validation process, and I'll come to those in a moment. But just to cover off what is AER and what does it mean. We have AER for knowledge worker and for rugged. So there's 2 different device categories. They have slightly different requirements, which are mentioned there. We did a lot around trying to improve the user experience. Because if you remember in the old days when we had Android for Work, there was a work folder, and that was a little bit confusing. So the user experience now has moved to like a tabbed experience for Android Enterprise. It makes it easier for people to navigate around the device. There are certain apps that need to be default on a fully managed device, and we also need to make sure that those apps don't accidentally appear in the work profile if they're not meant to. So we've seen some OEMs unfortunately end up with games that are called a system app and they end up in the work profile. So there's the UX requirements. The security updates, they must push out regular security updates, and they must promote that. They must offer a version upgrade. They must have unlocked devices available through their channel. And they must be doing some sales and marketing requirements. So a lot of these things Samsung was doing already. We already know that Samsung have a great commitment to OS updates, and they're also doing updates to the major versions of Android on a regular basis. But all of this just wrapped together to make sure that Samsung were in line with all the things that we'd asked for, plus all the things that they were already doing and also were extra. So which devices? These are the ones that are coming through now. Obviously, this is market dependent as to whether these devices are ranged in your market or are ranged via your preferred reseller. So it won't be every device straight away. And you will see, if you're looking in the solution directory now, you won't see them just yet, just because they're going through the final validation. But I would suggest look in there in the next sort of week or so, and we're hoping that these devices will start to appear. these are the ones going on initially, but going forward, the plan is that essentially the whole sort of Knox range will end up in the Android Enterprise recommended list, and we'll continue to update those every time they get an update for a version of Android. Then we'll revalidate those devices. So Zero Touch was the other big announcement. As you may have known, it came out on Pixel and it came out on Android 8 devices that were selected by the OEM. It wasn't every OEM. So on this announcement, essentially what we did is we moved that Zero Touch APK, the app that needed to run Zero Touch, we put that into Google Play Services. So now if you have a device that's compatible with Android 9, doesn't matter whether the manufacturer didn't have Android Enterprise support or Zero Touch support in there before. So any Samsung device that may have been Android 9 or later, or if it's shipped with Android 8 and you turn the device on and during the setup wizard it goes to and does an update to Android 9, those devices will work. So all Android 9 devices essentially with or without manufacturer support. So what does it mean? It just means it's universal availability. This makes it easy. We no longer have to maintain a list in our solution directory of which device has Zero Touch or not. It's everyone, as long as it's got Android 9. And it removes a lot of the integration costs that we were passing on to our manufacturers. It's also backwards compatible. So it's any device. Doesn't mean just because the device is already shipped, we don't have to put anything on there. This gets updated over the air. As you know, every 6 weeks, Google Play Services does an update. And as a device signs in for the first time, you know that it sits there for a minute or two, depending on your Wi-Fi connection. It will pull down a Play Services update. So if the Zero Touch agent wasn't there, it will push it down. So therefore, Samsung devices support this. Now, the interesting thing is here is Samsung continues to support Knox Mobile Enrollment. A couple of important things to note there is before Android 9, of course, you need to have, on a Samsung device, you must use Knox Mobile Enrollment because this is only from Android 9 and above. The second thing is if you make the mistake, and please don't make this mistake, but if your reseller makes the mistake of putting the device into Zero Touch and KME, then KME will take precedence. But there's no need to do that. You should have one or the other. There's no need to use both services. If you're a device reseller and you want to start offering Samsung devices with Zero Touch, first is you're probably going to need to update the way you're promoting that, the way you're offering it, particularly those partners who had API set up to actually drive this, and they probably will have hard-coded which models were supported out of their range, because every day, a new device is coming on, and today, as new devices come on, it's pretty much no new devices being launched with Android 9 anymore. They're coming with 10 or 11. Of course, they're all going to have Zero Touch. So you probably no longer need to hard code this sort of stuff. So have a think about the way that you are offering Zero Touch, particularly if it was being driven by API. Your reseller account needs to be whitelisted by Google. We had an initial reach out to partners earlier this year, and we promoted those guys into being able to use Zero Touch with Samsung and other OEMs. If you weren't on that list or you didn't respond, in our Zero Touch community or the device reseller community, there is a news article. You can search for it. It gives you a list of the reseller accounts that have been updated. So you can look for your reseller account to see whether or not you have the ability to provision a device that is Samsung with Zero Touch. So call to action, we would hope that you tell your customers to come to the webinar next week, and if they don't, then you're doing some sort of other reach out to let them know on your website or via your own events or via email to let them know that there's new availability of Zero Touch on Samsung devices. There is separate to sort of specific to Samsung, but we did release for all of our EMM partners a Zero Touch Iframe. If you recall, if you've been using Zero Touch so far, you've had to go into a Zero Touch console separately. So the EMM couldn't see Zero Touch and you had to do that separately. Now, depending on whether your EMM supports this yet, but we have launched a Zero Touch iframe, which means that inside of your EMM, you can then pull up an iframe, similar to the way that there's a managed play iframe for publishing applications, for publishing private apps. That iframe works the same way. So now got one for Zero Touch. So speak to your EMM provider to see whether they've got access to that in their console yet or when it's coming. So I just want to recap on a few of the Samsung and Google Android Enterprise, I guess, integration. I won't going to go into any detail. We're going to do that more on next week's call with a customer. So why would a customer choose an Android device from Samsung? So it's devices at every price point. It's devices for every use case. It's the ability to do that native separation of work and personal, even if it's just the work profile natively without having to go and buy a Knox license. It's got industry-leading security. Samsung's been rated by Gartner as the highest, even higher than the next nearest other operating system competitor. Really seamless fleet management, and it's a common framework for building enterprise apps and solutions using the Play Store and all of our SDKs. And there's devices across the whole range, from flagship to mid-tier to value and to field ready. So I'm not going to go through in detail this. I'm sure you all know the Samsung fleet, but they've got an amazing range of devices which pretty much no other smartphone manufacturer has. Getting down into devices that are specifically designed to be used in mines and and hazardous environments, waterproof, dustproof, shockproof, etc., right down to your fleet phone in the value tier. So together, Android and Samsung are providing security, management, and app distribution capabilities. And I'll talk a little bit about how we work together on that. So we've been innovating on Android Enterprise since the days when we first launched what was called Android for Work on the time on Android 5. That was supported by Knox 2.0. So may be a surprise to you, but if you were running a Samsung S6 device back in 2015, 2016, it could actually run Android Enterprise. But with every version of Android, we've continued to improve that. And the Knox versions obviously have iterated along the way as well to add more and more features. So here's a list of all the Knox policies. I'm not going to go through all of that, but just shows the commitment that Samsung have been making. This is the value adds that they do that not many other Android manufacturers do. They're keeping pace with what the customers are asking for. They're keeping pace with what the government certification organizations are asking them to do from a security and management point of view. So it's a pretty amazing investment. So there are lots of different products. So people say, I've got Knox. Well, which Knox product do I have? Because there's a Knox product for different parts of the life cycle. How do I configure the device before I even turn the device on? How do I enroll that device into my EMM? How do I manage it with an EMM solution, which Knox has with Knox Manage? How do I secure that device through the stuff that's on the device as well as configured by an EMM? And then how do I keep that device maintained and updated with things like ePhoto? So all of these different solutions from Knox work together. So there is not just one Knox product. There's Configure, which allows you to essentially set up a mobile SOE. You might want to put on a custom splash screen. You may want to be able to make changes to, for example, the layout of the home screen, or you want changes to the way the buttons work. So you're doing a push to talk, for example, on the radio. Mobile enrollment's going to enroll you, as you would know, like Zero Touch does. It's the other option to Zero Touch to get you into your EMM. Knox Manage is its own EMM if that's what you prefer as your management solution instead of using one of the other solutions from a third party. And then ePhoto is the over-the-air firmware upgrades, allowing you to cache that and schedule that on site. Platform for Enterprise is then is a license you can apply to get all the additional features on top of Android Enterprise that are only available on Samsung devices. So out of the box, just think about this. Every device comes with Knox. So there's the things you get for free, which is I've bought a Samsung device that has Knox. So it's the way it's manufactured. It's the way that data is separated on the device through the use of encryption and process isolation. It's the use of things like the sensitive data protection that separately encrypt certain parts of data. It's the runtime protection, so it's the memory things that are happening on a Samsung device. So these are happening regardless of whether you are enrolling into EMM or whether you're using Android Enterprise or not. These things are happening on every Samsung device. But then when you then connect it with Android Enterprise, then these things work hand in hand. In the past, you'd look at this and it was two different stacks. You either did Android for Work or Android Enterprise, or you did Knox. Now it's together. So you start with that secure base of your hardware. You then choose which mode or use case in Android Enterprise am I using? Is it a BYO device where I want the work profile? Is it a fully managed device? Do I want to give my work owned devices access to a work profile or not? Or do I lock it down just to work only? Or is this device being used in a dedicated use case where it's a kiosk or it's a scanner in a warehouse or it's been given to shared users who just have a single app? You then have access to the Google Play Store. This is something that was never available before. If you were not using Android Enterprise on a Samsung device, I'm sure you're familiar with the challenges people had with Gmail accounts and how many Gmail accounts could you create at once, or how many Gmail accounts could be used on different devices before all of a sudden they signed out and stopped working or your account got banned. Android Enterprise resolves that. We give access to essentially a managed Google Play account, which is a silent service account which gets pushed out to your device, gives the administrator then the ability to give you a full access to the Play Store or a curated list of the Play Store, as well as being protected by Google Play Protect. And at that point, you can then decide, now I've got my device enrolled, it's in a fully managed state, I've got access to the Play Store. Which additional features do I want to use from Knox Platform for Enterprise? Do I want to turn on the sensitive data protection? Do I want the Knox VPN? Do I want to put this device into common criteria mode because I'm a government employee working in defense? And then working side by side with that are all the Knox tools. So Knox Configure, Knox Mobile Enrollment, Knox Manage, Knox ePhoto. They all work in addition to Android Enterprise to extend but not replace the need for Android Enterprise as a base. So that was a long spiel. I've been talking for 51 minutes non-stop. So I'm going to pause there and see if anyone has had any questions come up through any of those slides. I can go back to any of the slides if you would like a recap. I hope I didn't speak too quickly. But feel free to either turn off your mic and ask a question live, or ping something to us in the chat or the Q&A window. Good turnout, by the way. Good to see 40 people on here. So a reminder as well, next week, even though it's a customer webinar, we'd like you all to join as well. And if any of your colleagues did miss this session, please invite them to join, as well as sharing that with all of your customers. A very quiet bunch for a Thursday. So we've got one work day to go. It's not the end of the week yet. You can't be asleep. Please, this is your one opportunity, or almost one of your last opportunities before the end of the year. That burning question.
Can I ask a question? Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, Matthew.
Matthew, yeah. I just have a question regarding the Iframe integration with Zero Touch.
Yes.
So I assume for it to work, you will need to have the same Google account on when you do the Iframe integration and the one in your Zero Touch console, or how does that work in the background?
That's a good question. Nikki, do you know, have you had a play with it yet?
I've not had to play with it, but from what I understand, the same way that you integrate with for the iframe for managed Google Play and the like, right, where you need to link an account, you'll need to link the account that you use that has access to Zero Touch console, so that you have access to the Zero Touch iframe. So same sort of integration functionalities you're used to. Same concept will apply. Again, it's down to the EMM to provide that functionality in the console, and that's something that they're working on if it's not already out yet. But yeah, it's a pretty straightforward process like you're used to with setting up Android Enterprise.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. There's a question there from staffers. Thanks for the question. Andre, Mr. PAC AER, that might be a question for you, being a Knox Manage expert. In event-based policy in Knox Manage, when exactly the application feature enabled in AE?
Event-based policy in Knox Manage, when exactly the application feature enable? Can I clarify a little bit about this? What do you mean by the application feature enable event-based? I think this the best is Samsung to answer, because it's asking about roadmap, right? I don't have the answer on this.
Yeah, thanks for the question, Mr. Davis. If you don't get an answer from Samsung, feel free to drop us a note and we'll follow up. Or again, as we suggest, put a question into the community, even better. So I'm hoping this information was helpful and you learned something from this. Again, we'll repeat these sessions every Friday as more of a general sort of onboarding scenario, as well as running the experts preparation session. So please look out for that. So I'll give it another couple of minutes, and there's no more questions. We'll close things off.
I'll probably post again in chat here for those who may have joined and didn't see this in chat earlier. That's the link where you can go and register for next week's session. So if you haven't, or if you need to share it out, you can share this link out and register for next week's session. All the details about it is under the Samsung AER webinar tab. You'll see at the very top.
Okay, good question, Jeremy. Nice to hear from you. I hope things are well in Jakarta. I'm really missing Jakarta. I'd love to be back there. Anyway, so that's a good question. So you're an existing, to put it in context, Jeremy is an existing zero-touch reseller. So first up is go into the device reseller community, and we've got an article in there if you search for it, which lists which reseller IDs have been, added or approved to be able to use Samsung as a manufacturer when you do the upload. Because if you know, when you're uploading a CSV, or you're pushing via API an IME into the Zero Touch Cloud, you need to specify a manufacturer. If you haven't been approved as a reseller to do that, your upload will fail and you get an error saying that's an invalid manufacturer code. But we are going through progressively. As I mentioned, we did put a request in there a couple months ago asking resellers to let us know that they were interested and let us know which devices they were intending to promote with Zero Touch. So that process is already closed, and those manufacturers were already approved. We're now just going through one at a time, adding in resellers into that list. So you'll find a list. So you'll need to know, you sign into your console, you'll be able to see what your reseller ID is. We don't put the names up there for privacy reasons, but you can compare your reseller ID and have a look in that list and see whether your reseller ID has been approved. If it hasn't, it should be coming soon. You can also, if you've got an urgent requirement for a project and you need it approved, then just drop a request in the support queue in there, and we can see if the partner escalation desk can get that expedited for you. Does that answer your question okay, Jeremy? Perfect. Thank you. Thanks for the question. That was a good one. Andre or Nikki, is there anything you wanted to add to the things I covered? Things you're hearing and seeing from customers and partners so far?
I think probably just to reiterate again, make sure that if you're wanting access to Academy, make sure that you go through the partner portal. That's the way that you access Academy now. Please don't use the link that you may have had access to at the start of the year. Make sure you go to the partner portal with this link here. This is where you'll be able to access Academy, Partner Marketing Hub, all the resources and everything that Jared spoke about at the very start. This is the place to go to single sign on your accounts, and you'll be able to have access to everything that you're normally used to having access to.
So what I'll do now, and please feel free to keep adding questions, I'll just share my screen and show you what does the partner portal look like. So just share the screen. All right, so everyone can see that, hopefully. It's coming up now. All right, so this is the partner page I mentioned. So if you go to android.com/enterprise/partners or go straight here off this link here for partners, in here it tells you a little about what the program is and why, who it's designed for, what benefits you get, and there's also a link here. We've actually just launched this new site. Nikki's team put together a new site, which is the training resources site, and this is pretty awesome because it talks about everything to do with Android Academy, telling you why training is important. what it also does, it actually takes you through all the different training courses and who they're for, right? So you can actually click on the Learn More, and it tells you, who should do this course, what languages it's available in, because we've actually got some multilingual scenarios happening there. So if you see a language there, then all the best. Look at that, Indonesian's available. So it's got all the prerequisites there. So that's the training portal link. But back here, it gives you the steps again: register, apply. Right, so you can click on this link here, which will help you become a partner, or you can sign in. So once you've signed in, this is the landing page. So you'll end up in here. So just be aware of where you are on the portal. So if you land here and you can see Android Enterprise Partner Portal, then you are in the landing page, but you're not yet in one of the communities, because the communities look a little bit different. From this landing page, you can apply for any one of these 4 community types. And for example, if I click on the Learn More for service provider, it will tell me what are the requirements for me to join the service provider program. Waiting for that to come up. Right, it tells me what all the benefits are of being a service provider. Tells me the requirements, so all the slides we went through before about having 3 experts, having 3 large deployments, having 60% qualified, and then you can apply. So there are all the different programs. So again, as I mentioned, you can apply to multiple ones, but only apply once. Just the primary contact should be the one that's applying. You get access to the Academy, so you can actually click on that, and that will take you to the Academy. If you can see at the bottom of my screen there, you can see there's like an SSO link in there. This is the important thing. The account that you are signed into with the Android Enterprise Partner Portal must be the same account you use Academy with, which is why we've got single sign-on. Can't reiterate that enough, because it's something that Nikki is spending a lot of time troubleshooting when people don't follow that. The experts community, again, I mentioned if you're a service provider and you're technical people wanting to get trained, or you're a device reseller with technical people, you can get access to the experts community if you qualify. There is a partner discussion forum where, let me just open that up and show you. In the partner discussion forum, you see all sorts of different questions and coming in from around the world from all the different partners. All right, and you'll get answers from sometimes from Google and sometimes from other partners are answering for you. You can see an example here, a Malaysian partner asking a question, and it was actually responded to by, not by us, but by another partner. The requirements for the program are in here as well. And then I mentioned before, news. So all of our latest news articles, there's getting updated regularly, right? So this was only just last week where we put in some details around the new the new Android Enterprise Essentials management tool that we launched. The newsletters in here as well. So we're releasing like a monthly newsletter there, September and October. The November one will probably be posted soon. And then all the trending knowledge. Going forward, if you go into one of the actual communities, here's an example of the carrier and device reseller community. So when you've applied, as I mentioned, your validation status appears. So you can see here, this partner has done their zero-touch training, because to be a carrier or a device reseller, you need to have offered zero-touch. So that's, as a result, zero-touch is one of the requirements. But they've done the training, but they haven't applied for a service review yet. So they haven't actually applied for what we call a product review, where we get you to demonstrate that you can actually operate the zero-touch console. We're still waiting on them to find that email from Mocha Contracts, which has got the partner program agreement in it. And only half the required people have done their training, but they've actually done their go-to-market checklist. So you can see these are all the steps. Until they go green, you won't appear into our solution directory. But in here you can click on training, you can click on all the assets, you go to the partner discussion. There's a customer adoption kit, all the articles, right? For example, if you are, and this is a common one we get, we want to develop APIs for zero touch. Well, guess what? There's a whole topic on how do I start to do my API development? Am I using the common reseller library, or am I doing just the zero-touch library? How do I handle Samsung devices now with zero-touch? All these questions are in this community. So if you hear Nikki or I say, sorry, we're not going to answer that question, we should suggest you put in the community. This is why, because 9 times out of 10, someone's already asked that question. It's already been answered. So it's no point us taking up our time to respond to your email when you know that in the right part of the community, these are all the answers in here already. The experts community, again, you'll get access to experts if you pass. Now, ask a question. This is special, right? Because you can only ask a question if you're validated as an expert. And in here, you can then escalate to Google as part of that. And there's also a contact Google form here. Contact our support team to escalate an issue. All right. What type of case is it? Feature request, documentation review, confidential question, etc. And you can upload a file, for example, like a bug report or a screenshot or a video, etc. So that's the experts community. The Android Enterprise partner community is where our service provider partners will go, and also all of the field staff for our EMM and OEM partners will end up in here. You can see in here that service providers need to have experts. So this particular demo partner I'm using has had his 3 experts do it. In fact, he had 5 experts. They have not got 3 customers yet that have done their validation. So the customer needs to respond to our survey and say you've done the deployment before you get signed off. And they've probably only had 1 person do the training because they're missing out on 93% of their academy training, and they've not yet fully completed their go-to-market checklist. So the only thing that they've done is they've done the experts training. The Google Partner Training. So as Nikki mentioned, don't go to this URL manually. You can launch this via SSO from within the Academy. So within the partner portal up here, Android Academy. Here's the link. There's the link to the Partner Marketing Hub. So in here is all your training. You can see here that you can't do the architecture and implementation course, for example, until you've actually finished professional and you finished associate. So you can see these other courses are locked. And you can't also do the experts certification exam until you've passed those other 2 courses. So it's all based on you finishing your training. And then when you've finished each required module, you can do it. Another thing I want to mention here, there's an experts certification exam guide. It's one of the things we mentioned before, but that guide is in there as well. So to have a look at that, it tells you how to prepare. A lot of the stuff we've already covered in our weekly sessions, but certainly I would make sure you've had a look at that and tick off all those requirements. The Partner Marketing Hub, again, if you go by brands, Android Enterprise, you'll find heaps of stuff in here. There's all of our messaging requirements. So like if you're going to use Android Enterprise or a logo or the word Google, all of the requirements are in here as well. There is a asset approval. Please use that. If you're going to use any of our brands resources, you need to submit your copy for approval. So there's an asset approval process. Usually takes about 5 business days. That team's based in San Francisco. But then all the toolkits here for Zero Touch, for Android Enterprise recommended, all of our sales resources, our marketing resources are all in this Partner Marketing Hub. And anyone who is registered with your organization by your domain name, it's whitelisted by domain name. So anyone can get access to here. They don't need individual approval. They'll be able to sign in here and get access to all those resources as long as your organization has joined the Enterprise Partner Program. Cool. So I've got a question there from Tina who said, I think Andre's answered it. If we have a customer with KME and Zero Touch for all others, what's the best way to move forward? Leave as is or transition all new sampling devices? So Andre's answer, flexibility. If the customer uses specific KME features, you may want to keep it. Yeah, it really comes down to what the customer requirements are. There are a couple of things which we'll cover in next week's session that KME can do that or that require extra steps to do if you're in Zero Touch, like ePhoto, for example, isn't automatically enabled. So it comes down to what the customer's using. If they purely, all they wanted to do is just enroll into VMware, or they just wanted to enroll into Knox Managed, then yeah, sure. For simplicity, particularly once your EMM console supports the iframe, that might be the easiest way to do it. It's less headache. But there's no need to touch existing devices that are already deployed. It really comes down to what is easier. You know, as a service provider, you're entitled to have a different price to do different services. So if you know you have to have a whole bunch of things skilled up to be able to do KME and another team skilled up to do Zero Touch, feel free to offer it as a different service. And if the customers want both, they pay for both. They might then decide they want one. It's really up to you to decide how you want to position that, and the customer's choice as to what features they need to use specifically. But pretty much 90% of the features overlap, identical. This comes down to what the customer wants. Hope that helps, Tina. Good question, though. Thank you. All right, looks like there's no more questions, and I'm probably going to give you 20 minutes back of your day. We will, as I mentioned, we're recording this session, so we'll put that up on our Android Academy global calendar training page. It'll appear there where we had our other links for all of our other sessions. But thank you for joining, and please look forward to seeing you on next week's call, and a reminder to get that out to all your customers, post it LinkedIn, whatever, send it via snail mail, whatever, send emails. That'd be great if you could help promote it. And if we don't speak to you before then, have a great Christmas and stay safe.
Thank you.
Right, see you
Thanks,
guys.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.